Crean. It is Wednesday. It's during football season, college football season. So you and I are talking football, and somehow we got on the topic before the show of Alabama and which Shula son coached, and I think it was Mike because I looked at David and he didn't fit the bill, or Dave. I'm sorry. Um, Miami Dolphins,
His
Miami
dad
Dolphins.
called him David, though, Marty.
When he was mad at him, right?
That's right.
When he was mad at him. Yes, it must be Mike because David or Alabama had his history there erased from.
That could be.
Oh, beef! It's so funny. We got our first comment of the night, of course. Jeffrey Evers checks in and says,
Nice.
"Good evening," and
Evening, evening.
Sylvester checks in and says, "Good evening." Thanks, guys. We appreciate you guys chiming in and paying attention to what we're going to talk about here. Um, Beef, we're going to get to our bets in a minute, but just let Sylvester and Jeffrey know that one of my games that I bet on is currently on the TV. Yes, sir, your Sam Houston. They are no longer state, I heard. They want to get rid of that. Sam Houston Bobcats.
How about that?
Bearcats, I'm sorry. Texas State, who no longer wanted to be called, who they wanted to be called state and not Southwest Texas. It's hard to keep up with these schools and their ever changing names, but we're on to week 8 of the college football season, Beef. I started to write down, the weeks without Clemson for us Clemson fans is always interesting because on one hand, there's nothing to look forward to during the Saturday. On the other hand, there's a lot to look forward to because we get to watch more of somebody else for 3 hours instead of Clemson. And I started doing a list. I don't know if you saw it on the rundown because I know you do hours of research before we get online here. I started going down the list, and last week was actually full of interesting games. Washington and Oregon, Notre Dame and USC, Alabama and Arkansas was a close one. North Carolina took down Miami. That was close for about a half. Louisville is no longer undefeated, though I never saw one play in that game. A&M loses again. They now have 3 losses, and South Carolina blew a late lead. That was on me. I actually tweeted out that the Bill Napier era was coming to an end, and then they came back from 10 down 9 minutes ago, and I put, okay, it's on life support, but it's still pretty close there in Florida, but it may even be closer in Columbia, where I saw you battling some Gamecock fans on Twitter.
Was I?
Um,
Oh, because I put out the Muschamp
yeah.
Beamer is just Muschamp Light alert that I got on my phone all those weeks ago. Yeah. I was very because I had 2 TVs going, and the new YouTube TV multi-view, which is awesome. And on my little TV, so I had 5 games going at once on my little TV, which got full billing, but it was small. It's a 32-inch. I can't believe I'm saying 32 inch is small from back in the day. That was like the biggest you could get.
Yes.
But 32-inch had South Carolina and Florida on it. And to the point that South Carolina went up 10 points, I turned it off. And I actually switched it over to, I think, North Carolina, Miami at the time, because at halftime, Miami was winning that game. So I turned it off, and then I was like, oh, I got lost in the night, and I turned it back, and I saw that whoever it was, ESPN, SEC Network, whatever it was interviewing Graham Mertz and Ricky Pearsall. And I'm thinking to myself, they don't usually interview losing players. So, and they were both smiling. So I deduced, I did my whole math. 1 + 1 is 1, and said that Florida must have won. So I was scouring, excuse me, a little under the weather, scouring for highlights to see how South Carolina blew the game and, broke a foot in the process.
Yeah, Shane told everybody how they did it. This guy didn't do that, and we called
Wasn't that
this.
crazy?
Yeah. Woof. People give Dabo a hard time, but yikers.
Yeah, I don't know why
Yeah,
he gets a pass nationally.
yeah, and it's kind of funny to pay attention to how narratives are built, good or bad, and your comparison to his record and Muschamp's record. You know, I mean, what's the difference? Nothing really. Very close to being the same. Beef is playing injured today or sick.
Well, one more thing, and I don't want to belabor this South Carolina thing because it's South Carolina and they don't deserve to A, be on our show, regardless of how many people we have listening, and B, it's South Carolina, so I can't say what I want to say. But the only thing that South Carolina fans say is that Beamer recruits better. I'm not sure that's true. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but Muschamp recruited well too. His knock was that he recruited everybody. Everybody had an offer, and then he had to figure out who he wanted. But Muschamp was getting 5-star guys.
Yeah.
Beamer's getting 5-star guys too, or a couple high 4 stars. Muschamp the same way. So I get it. It's your guy. I'd probably feel the same way if Dabo had somebody come in after him, or if we went from Tommy West to Tommy West Jr. or whatever. I'd probably feel the same way because it's your guy. But from an outsider perspective and a rival perspective, I don't know if they upgraded.
Tommy West Jr. Oh, I'm going to have that in yours tonight. That's hilarious. Well, Clemson obviously didn't have a game the last week, so we don't have anything to go over there. But they do have a game this week in Miami, which one of us has a pick on coming up in our pick segment. What's your thoughts on? First of all, did you write an article this week? And do
Not
you
yet.
have thoughts?
I have thoughts. I did get home late tonight or this afternoon. It was afternoon, so I haven't put my thoughts together yet for my preview. But I did do some research on their depth chart, and I looked at some stats. So I have watched them twice. It's a good football team. I don't care that they lost their last 2 ball games. Once to Carolina, North Carolina, who's really, really good. I don't care what anybody says. They're really, really good. Their defense is getting better, and their offense is really dynamic. And they lost in a fluke. I mean, they shouldn't have lost that game. It counts as a loss, and your record is what it says it is, but they shouldn't have lost against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech had no business of being in that game, but they were, and Miami lost. Boneheaded play. There's rumors that Cristobal may have lost this team. The way I watched Xavier Restrepo, the wide receiver, play last week, I don't think he lost anybody. That kid can flat out play. They have 4 running backs that they tried out there. Everyone on their depth chart is including Henry Parrish Jr., who's fantastic. They got the Donald Chaney kid who fumbled that game at Georgia Tech, but he's really good. Don't get me wrong. Don't get just because he fumbled that night that he's not good. He's really good. They got 4 dogs on the outsides that can catch. They got a tight end that they use. And then I haven't even mentioned Tyler Van Dyke, who's got 16 touchdowns and 1 interception. They don't turn the ball over. They're +5 in turnover differential. Their defense gets their stud D end back this week. Name escapes me right now, but they get him back and healthy. This is going to be a really tough challenge for Clemson, especially down there in front of 2,400 people. It's going to be it's going to be really quiet and dead in Miami, but we don't know what to do there. It's going to be a tough challenge, Marty.
2.5 points. At least that's when I took this game at Clemson. It was 2.5 point favorite, and I saw earlier this afternoon it went up to 3.5. Now Jeffrey in the comments says Miami is overrated. Casey apparently doesn't think so.
Are they rated?
Yeah.
Are they still ranked? I think are they still ranked?
They can't be after losing to Georgia Tech in 2 games in a row. So I tend to believe that I don't know if lost the team is right, but they really don't have anything to play for. They've lost 2 ACC games. Of course, you can say the same thing about Clemson, right? So, but I think there's a difference in the teams there. One has a history of winning and still has things to play for, whether it's 10 wins or, Dabo will come up with something. And the other has a history of not winning, at least not recently. So we'll see. It should be an interesting game, close game. At least that's what the expectations are. Like I said, 2.5 open. Last time I saw it was 3.5. I'll have a pick on this game coming up.
And we'll see what if Clemson goes up 2 scores early. We'll see if Miami has packed it in. I kind of said it last year against Florida State, and the one thing that really impressed me about Mike Norvell's team last year, I know we're not talking Florida State, was the fact that they went down 3 scores to Clemson, I think maybe even 4, and came back and had a chance with an onside kick to tie the game. So, and at that point, my eyes opened and said, wow, this is a different Florida State team. we'll see if Miami can go down early, if Clemson can right some wrongs and go up early and kind of put their foot on the throat. Dabo's too nice, so he won't step on it. He'll just put it on it. Although he's had a history of putting his foot on the throat of Miami, hasn't he? 58-0.
I just want to see no dumb handoffs that end up going the other way, or I just want to see a clean game. And I know they're college kids, and we're not going to see a lot of clean games. But yes, Kane's going to throw interception here or there, but and people are going to fumble, helmet on the ball, whatever. But not the way they are doing it. They're kind of unforced turnovers, for lack of to use a tennis term.
Very much so.
All right, let's look at last week's poll results, Beef. Locks is bragging because his bold prediction won, but yours actually happened on the field.
I know.
Bentonville actually led at one point when I turned the TV on, and then scored, I think, 2 more touchdowns after that. Or maybe it's a touchdown field. I think they ended up with 20. Anyway, 20 points against the Georgia defense for Vanderbilt. Mine looked good for about a quarter and a half, and then fell to crap, which the people predicted. Okay, so our bold predictions this week. We'll start with Locke since he's not here. He's off at a volleyball game. His bold prediction is Tennessee beats Alabama. So bold, I doubt it will happen, but Bama's so unpredictable this year, you never know. True, but they're playing at home, and I don't think Tennessee's offense is the same. What do you think about Locke's prediction here?
He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just trying to win. He's just trying to win the poll, even though his stuff doesn't come true. I mean,
That's true. That's true. My bold prediction, I couldn't figure, again, this week, I had a hard time figuring out what bold prediction I wanted to go with. And then it hit me. I heard another podcast. Here's my bold prediction. Iowa finishes the regular season 11-1. Horrible, terrible Iowa who can't score more than 20
they
points.
can run the ball.
Their quarterback, who is their second stringer, had 35 yards passing. Somebody's punter had 37 last week. So he got outpassed by the punter. Here's their schedule. They play 4 straight home games. They're 6-1, I think. So, yeah, they're 6-1. They play Minnesota, Northwestern, the Scarlet Knights. They don't have to play in SHI T-shirt Stadium. They play in Iowa, and then Illinois at home and Nebraska on the road. They could end up 11-1. Now they're going to get crushed by Michigan or Ohio State, whoever comes out of the other side. But that's beside the point. Could be looking at an 11-win Iowa team.
They're going to win their division. That's crazy. Are there still divisions in the Big Ten? Hey,
yes.
Justin.
Yes. Justin checks in. Yes, there are, because I heard somebody say today they ought to buy out ESPN, where they ought to do away with them in the middle of the season. Like he said, hey, if the COVID you approved, it really doesn't matter what the rules are. You can change them anytime you want, right? So they may just somebody was suggesting they buy out the ESPN or whoever's got the title game and put the top 2 teams, Michigan and Ohio State, I guess, in a rematch. But that'll be interesting. What is your bold pick?
This might be real bold for the Clemson folks out there. Clemson will have a 100-yard receiver this weekend.
Ooh. Any clue on who that would be?
It's either going to be 0. It's either going to be 0 or 6.
It doesn't have to be. That's not part of your bet. You're just saying Clemson has a 100-yard receiver.
I just think they're going to throw it. I just think they're going to air it out. I have this feeling. I know they have Shipley and Maffa, and it's the dirt raid and whatever Garrett Riley's talking about. I just truly believe that they're gonna start throwing the ball, whether it's dinks and dunks to 0 and 6 if Antonio Williams is healthy, or if they're gonna take shots with Bo and Stellato on the outsides. I'm not sure. I just think. I just truly think, and here it is, fan Casey coming out right here. I just think that all the rights are wronged over one bye week. Everything's going to be fixed this week. I just think either 0 or 6 is going to be the guy. And it may be, with a lot of rack, run after catch, maybe. I don't know. I just think that they'll have a 100-yard receiver. I hope there's a 100-yard rusher, too, and I almost went with both. I almost went 100-yard receiver and 100-yard rusher, but that would have been a little bit too much.
Yeah, that'd be really bold.
Got to put
So
my Clemson glasses on.
you answered Chad's question. Kevron checks in.
Good to see Mr. Yarber in the comments tonight. Thank you, sir.
Justin says they got to air it out against Miami.
And they got their DN back. What the heck is his name?
Sylvester agrees. And
Messidor. I'm sorry. His name is Hakeem Messidor.
His love. Well, I hope he loves a win, Kevron. We need a win.
Hey, Kevron. Good to see you, pal.
It's been nice to see a beat down on Miami. That I think we all agree with. Everybody in our comments.
As someone that grew up a University of Miami fan, I can tell you it's pretty sweet to beat them.
Okay, last week's picks. Those red X's by my name do not signify victories. I had a rough week. As I told Casey and Locks on the text machine, that is what you call Titanic going downhill. Beef is having an incredible season. Another winning week for Mr. Beef. I don't know if you can see it. Let me get rid of that comment right there. I'm trying to get rid of it. There we are. 2-1 for Beef, 2-1 for Locks. I was making sure the bottom of the standings were supported by going 0-3. I'm still 11-10, and here we go. Beef on the season is an incredible 14-6-1. I still have a winning record, but I made a big bet on Notre Dame, which I want to talk to you about in a second, Beef. And then Locks is 9-10-2, 4,370 and some change behind. So I'm so far behind because I bet on Notre Dame. And then last week I bet against Notre Dame. And then Powell jumps on me and says, you can't bet against our defense. You just lost to Louisville, dude. He said, yeah, you're right. And I had the reigning Heisman quarterback and 2 points. And Notre Dame pretty much crushed him up. And
there might be a little bit of lack of awareness with some Notre Dame fans.
You think? I saw you talking about that too. And that's actually pretty funny because as a non-Notre Dame fan, you listen to that network, and I agree with what you said 100%. And then the Notre Dame fans are just totally oblivious to it. Which
it's terrible.
There's some Clemson fans like that. But yeah, more than being homers for Notre Dame, they're just horrible. They sound like two old men that are watching paint dry. There's a touchdown. What a great play by Jimmy.
And it's not. It's Collinsworth's kid, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I can't watch them with sound.
And Sylvester says Notre Dame is Jekyll and Hyde. We haven't lost to them in Miami since the 50s. I love those stats. They played there like 3 times, right?
I talked about it on another show last night, though, but the that stadium also was the host of 70-13 or 70-30. What was it? 70-30? I forget because
it's on my mind.
But also, we beat Oklahoma on the run to the first national championship in that place too. So
yeah,
I am being a fan. Yes, sir.
That's what we're here for. That's why we exist. All right, let me get that comment out of there. All right, Beef. It is time. That's what everybody's here for. We'll have to have a proxy for Zach again, but it's time. Don't think you could have done any worse if you tried.
Well, I take that as a victory.
These guys aren't doing research, so why should I? Beef, you stink the most.
A true believer in what they're doing in North Carolina. That's why I'm picking Virginia Tech, Tennessee.
I love Spencer Rattler.
I agree with Marty. I don't like this. Look, you smell it, the backdoor cover.
We're not smelling the backdoor cover this week. Locks is not with us for the second straight week, but he did send in his picks and his narrative, but I go first because I suck. I picked a little game that upset Locks, which really makes me happy. By the way, Beef, I've been working on the ABL addition to the intro because that is some pure gold from last week's show. For those of you out there who don't know what ABL is, it stands for Anybody But Locks. I'm Beef's biggest fan. Winning this contest and pulling away and getting the one and only dope hat that is the prize for this year. Anyway, I did some research this week, B. I do that after I go 0-3 and get crushed. Sam Houston is playing FIU right now. FIU has been inside the Sam Houston 10-yard line like 3 times, and it's 3-0. With 11:06 to go in the second quarter, I took the under 41 in this game. So it's looking good right now, but who the heck knows? Under Sam Houston, FIU, under 41, it's minus 115. I got 690 Sluggo bucks on it. That will return 600 if going into the weekend. I mean, Thursday, if I get 600 bucks, some Shiner bucks coming my way. Locks. Let's see what Locks takes first. Arizona State plus 28. Washington is coming in after last week's massive win versus Oregon. And ASU coming in after playing a couple of close games. 28 just seems like a massive number in this spot. He puts 800 Sluggo bucks on this. Probably should have done this one last. It's minus 110. So 800 Sluggo bucks on Washington, Arizona State plus 28 for locks. What you got for your first one, Dave?
My first one's going to stay in the ACC, and I went with Wake. This is going to be kind of a theme this week. I went with a team that has not done me any good this year. I know my record is pretty good, but Wake Forest is a complete enigma. They are at home this week against Pittsburgh, who just beat Louisville, and I love recency bias. I'm going Pitt +1 on the road at Wake Forest, who has quarterback issues right now. It's at minus 107, so I'm going 428 Sluggo bucks for a return of $400 if I did my math correctly. I told you, Marty, I can do math.
You did your math perfectly. 428 to return 400. And Justin's good pick for Rob. We did not like that at all. We don't like those comments at all. This is a Locks 80.
I kind of like that pick too, but then I
always get scared. I 2 of your 3 picks I was going to pick, and then I backed off, and you picked them, and you're in first. I was like, crap, but we'll see how it goes.
I was first. I put mine in last night, like 9:00 at night.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you had 2 left.
You used to wait until Wednesday till Locks chided you.
I wasn't feeling good, so I didn't know if I was going to wake up today.
At all, period.
That's right.
Alabama, Tennessee. Locks thinks Tennessee. This is his surprise pick or bold pick of the week that Tennessee is going to beat Alabama. I'm going the other way, but I'm not real sure they're going to cover 9.5. I'm going to take Alabama money line at minus 350 for 1,750 bucks, and that returns 500 if I did my math correctly. So 1,750 Sluggo bucks. Alabama money line minus 350. Locks' second pick. Locks is sneaky. He went with the underdogs this week. Stanford plus 17. I don't know if Justin thinks this is a good pick or not, but Stanford plus 17. Rationale, games in Stanford, in front of those 24 fans that are traveling from Miami, apparently. And first, UCLA is a defensive-minded team. I think they gave up 44 last week. Again, 17 seems like a big number. 800 Sluggo bucks. Let me get
He's trying to make a move.
Yes, he is. So I'll tell you something interesting about that. It's minus 110 again. So both of his first 2 are minus 110. Both of them for 800 Sluggo bucks. When I added up how many Sluggo bucks, I shouldn't say money, Sluggo bucks we were betting, Locks and I ended up with the same exact amount, and I didn't cheat. So we got the same amount on different amount on certain games, but in total over 3 games we have the exact same Sluggo bucks.
That's good.
On the line. Well, it'd be good if he goes 1-2 and I go 2-1.
That's true.
Beef, your second pick.
My second pick, I bet against, or not really against, Ohio State this year, but it hasn't done me very good. I think I picked Maryland to cover. They didn't. I picked something else to cover. They didn't, but third time's a charm. Penn State +4 at Ohio State. I think Penn State wins this game outright, and I don't know why. I haven't watched much of them. I've watched a lot of Ohio State, so I'm going that way rather than they put it on Maryland at the end, but they were back and forth with Maryland. And if Maryland had any dog in them, they would have hung with them. I think just talent and depth won that day. I'm going Penn State +4, -110 for 330 Sluggo bucks.
You're getting the math down. Gonna need more dogs. We're gonna need more
I say that
dogs.
frisbee catching dogs,
That Coastal Carolina coach from a few years ago before
That's right.
Before they got good, so they're gonna need more dogs. Let's see, my third pick. Clemson, Miami. I got this one at Clemson -2. I'm going with the Tigers this week. I think the off week is going to do them wonders. Normally, after a team has a bad loss like Miami, I'd actually pick them the next week, which I did last week, right? I picked Miami over North Carolina. I thought they would come back, but now they've lost 2 in a row, and they got to play a fresh Clemson team that got some injuries healed. Apparently, is going to get a player or 2 back, maybe one in the secondary. Maybe some bumps and bruises healed up. I think Clemson, it's only a field goal. All you got to do is win by a field goal. I don't know if that leaves room for a fumble 6, which, seems to be in the Clemson game plan this year. But I think Clemson can do it. And I want to have some skin in the game for the Tigers, to be honest. So Clemson -2. We just need a field goal, which is really scary.
Right.
So hopefully it doesn't come down to a field goal at the end. It's like 21 for Clemson and 17 for Miami. That's what I'm thinking, something like that. Clemson -2. I'm putting 660 on it, which will return 600 Sluggo bucks. Locks' third pick for Mr. Locks. This is what we like to refer to here as a lock special. Minnesota at Iowa over 32.5. That is not for one team, because Locks doesn't like those picks. He told me that on the text machine. The whole game is over 32.5. Now remember, this is a team that won 15-9 last week against Wisconsin. So we'll see. Here's his rationale. At first I thought no-brainer, got to be over. Then I looked at their last few games each and thought under. But I just can't do it. Have to go over. He's confusing himself and me. 32.5 is so low. And then speaking of low, he only got 500 Sluggo bucks on it. And I believe that's, let me check.
2,100 all sold, huh?
Yes, sir. That is, he got a bargain. It's only -109. So that could be the difference in this week. -109 for Locks. Beef, your third and final pick.
My third and final pick, we're going out to Bloomington, Indiana. Nobody walks into Bloomington, Indiana's Memorial Stadium and beats the Indiana Hoosiers unless it's the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. My dad always says, dance with the girl you brought, or you marry more in a minute, or something. I don't know. I forget exactly what he said, but he said something like that. Rutgers has been good to me all season long. I hate this pick, by the way. I hate it. It stuck out to me. I had to go with it. I hate it because their passing offense is ranked, I think, 128th in the country. It's 125 to 128 in that number. There's only 130 some odd teams. It's not good, but man, they can run the football and that defense gets after it. Rutgers -5. I hate this pick. I'm going with my beef special here. 395.65. I'm trying to get. I got to get to the 0-0. I just have to.
Well, that's funny because you had it one. Remember in the middle of after your first game a couple of weeks ago, Locks was celebrating, and then you screwed up and won the next one. And
I know. I should have just lost it.
You were all out of kilter after that. So what's that for you? That's 828, 1120, about 1,160 Sluggo bucks for you. Locks and I obviously behind, trying to catch up.
Conservative. I've been pretty conservative, if I'm being honest. With the record that, I should be up by a lot more.
You got to lead. It's like we're like at the 100th game of the baseball season, and got to lead, and you're just trying to hold off.
But I'll get impatient at the end and just start unloading like $5,000 bets,
like I did last week.
On Rutgers.
You're doing great. It's good to see. All right, let me do the recap here. We'll start off in reverse since Beef is in first place. Beef, what we call him.
Right.
Penn State +4. 330 Sluggo bucks. That'll return 300. Rutgers, -5. -110, 395, 65 Sluggo bucks, trying to get rid of the loose change in his pocket. And Pitt's getting one, correct?
Yes, right.
Pitt, +1, -107, 428 Sluggo bucks.
Underdogs have treated me well this year too.
Yes. Always a smart pick in college football. Not always, but most of the time, a smart pick in college football. Locks. Minnesota, Iowa. It's -109. He's taking the over 32.5 for 500 Sluggo bucks. Stanford, UCLA. He is taking Stanford +17. That's -110. 800 Sluggo bucks. Arizona State, Washington. That's -110. He's taking +28 for Arizona State. And the loser, the Titanic, has picked Sam Houston State, FIU, under 41, -115 for 690. And it is, 10-0 FIU with 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. Not looking too bad, but we got to see what happens before halftime. 690 Sluggo bucks, as I said, -115. That'll return 600. Alabama money line, -350. 1,750 Sluggo bucks. That will return 500. And Clemson, -2 on the road in Miami, -110 for 660 Sluggo bucks. That'll return 600. Locks and I got 2,100 online. Casey a little more conservative, makes perfect sense. And whoever said that about Casey Cregan's bets?
Never.
Beef, what you watching on TV tonight?
I got only one thing to watch, and it's the Texas Rangers and Houston Astros. I am locked into this baseball series. I feel bad for you, pal. I literally don't have a dog in the hunt. I'm not rooting. I'm kind of finding myself rooting for Philly, which is really weird for a North Jersey kid. But I mean, I have my Arizona Diamondbacks hat. Some guy randomly in Columbia started talking trash to me today, and I'm like, oh, it's just a hat, bro. I didn't think that they would actually be there. And thanks, Jeff.
And Locks is getting praise from nobody said your picks or my picks. Apparently they suck, Casey. Well, I know mine did. So we will see. But Chaz, I'm wearing this for a reason because Chaz is on the bench tonight.
Ooh.
And that noted center fielder Mauricio Dubon is playing in his place. Now Dubon, interesting, he's up for at 2 positions. Now, one of those positions is center field, but he looks a little shaky out there to me. As I told my baseball guys that I text with, he reminds me of me in high school, and my career ended in high school because that was me, and that's what he looks like in center field. So,
hey, if you had a head this big, it bounces when you run in the outfield, and like the ball's bouncing. Then,
it was not a pretty picture, but anyway, go Astros. Good luck for them, but they might have run into a train. So on one hand, I want the Astros to win, but kind of feel like Philly and Texas is kind of it'd be home runs galore probably.
It'd be fun. It'd be a fun watch, no doubt.
And I don't have to console Parker after every pitch, which gets old when there's 250 pitches in the game. So, Casey, tell the people thank you. Let's get out of here. Enjoy some Sam Houston and FIU.
Thanks to everyone in the Seldom Used Reserved College Football Discussion Group. Uncle John McGee, as always, Sluggo Podcast, and each and every one of you who listens, likes, shares, and participates. We truly love your participation, so thank you so much. And on behalf of Marty, Seldom Used Reserved Coleman, Zach Locks Parker, who's bouncing the volleyball off his head, and I am Casey the Beef Cregan. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you right here next week on Sluggo.
Feel better, Beef.
I think we're done here.